Summer of 2002, I got a job working at a quarry on Mosquito Mountain. Anybody ever been to Mosquito Mountain? I didn't think so. It's in Frankfort, Maine. And our job was basically to carry rocks from point A to point B. And it was very hot that July, and one day as I was heading towards point A, which was basically this big slope with all these rocks we were going to spend all summer picking, I picked up a rock, I got back up, and I barely turned around, and I felt the sharp blow of one of my coworkers' fist in my face. And as I tried to get my footing so I could, respond fire with fire, I heard him yell. I tripped on a rock and I was falling sideways, and I heard him yell, "You fucking terrorist." So I grew up in France, and where I grew up, it was kind of like, South Central, but with very little available guns at the time. So the death toll was a fraction of what happened in some American cities. But also, if without the threat of somebody pulling a gun on you, if there's one slogan that the NRA is right about, is that an armed society makes a polite society. So there's a lot more people fighting every day, fist fighting, baseball bats, knives, and stuff like this. So that day on Mosquito Mountain, it wasn't so much the violence of the fist that was emotionally intense, I guess, as much as the violence of the words. When I was growing up in France, my dad was living in Ellsworth. I knew mostly just two things about him: his name and the fact he lived in Maine. And as soon as I turned 18, I got on a plane to escape France because I hated that place, and to come to get to know my dad. And I knew a little bit of English, so that helped. But every time that I would hear, I really wanted to be a part of his life. So every time I would hear somebody, make fun of my accent, or if I get turned down for a job after I was asked what Middle Eastern countries I visited in the last 6 months, if I felt excluded in any kind of way, it was very personal for me, because I felt like I was being told that I couldn't be a part of my dad's life. It wasn't just like I can't be here, I can't be part of his life. And so in my early 20s, I traveled a little bit. I lived in New York City, lived in Louisiana. And then I came back about 12 years ago to take care of my dad, who wasn't doing well, and also to take care of my son, whose mom lived in Belfast, Maine. And about 5 years ago, I moved to Bangor. At the time, it seemed like the most, it has canals and stuff, so I used to like calling it the Venice of the North, Because compared to Ellsworth, it's pretty. So I moved there, and after 3 months, man, it was like a summer day, a beautiful summer night. I was coming home, I was walking up the hill, and I'm walking, and it's a beautiful night, and there's a city of 30,000 inhabitants, and there's not one single person on the street. And I think in a lot of cultures, the street is not just from point A to point B. It's a place where you actually go, and it's a destination where you meet people, where you talk, where you argue, all that. And so I was just alone on the street, and I was feeling like Robinson on the Crusoe's in the Defoe's island, feeling so alone. And I was going back to my home where I didn't have many friends there at the time, and the only people that I sort of guessed were there were people driving by in cars, and then the little windows with the blue shimmering light. And every single window that passed by, like one after the other, this little blue light, no variant there. At least I was hoping the silhouette of two people having sex on the kitchen table. But no, nothing. Just television on a beautiful summer's evening. And I was walking up the hill and I was thinking, I spent most of my life living in places where I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I was welcome, and I couldn't relate. And I stopped walking and I said those 3 words that you say sometimes in important moments in your life. Fuck this shit. And I think, okay, I can't deal with something for that long. I need to do something about it. And one of the few things I know how to do is to draw. So I went home that night, and I got out my charcoal and my paper, and I did some drawings in the next few days, I made some posters out of these drawings. There's drawings of birds, drawings of airplanes, drawings of shopping carts, and I went and pasted them around town in Bangor. And I was so excited because I was craving adventure so much living there in Bangor and just going out at night like this and having to hide. I felt like a 13-year-old having his first cigarette. But more than anything, it was when I would walk the next day and I would see my stuff on the walls. Like the thing you think is the most unchangeable in your life is the hard architecture that you live in, the infrastructure. And the fact that I just done something positively, because I did plenty of vandalism when I was a teen, but like something that was aesthetic, like it was really empowering. And actually now when I work for schools, want to hire me, before I even talk about money, I say, I'll come, but I want to make sure we're going to put stuff on the walls, because I want the kids to have that empowering moment. And then within the next few weeks, something amazing happened to me, which was that there was a lot of response. Like I picked up there's sort of like a small little magazine, free magazine you get in Bangor, and there was like a happy ad. And it was like, whoever's doing the pigeons and the seagulls around downtown, keep doing it, we love it. And then people were talking about it on social media, and more people were talking about it than people I knew. And so I started thinking, well, okay, so maybe I'm not the only person who wants more of the environment, who wants more connection, maybe like fun, and being out there. So I kept doing it, and then I started thinking, at some point, the people were talking in Bangor about my stuff like it's our thing. And it was very sort of ironic because I was creating local pride. And so if you were from Brewer, across from the river, like you couldn't understand the pigeon thing. Because it's our thing, So I even made a T-shirt that says "I Heart Bangor," and I was going to Eppie's in Bar Harbor, and there was this Russian girl behind the counter, and she says, "What is?" It actually said BGR. So, what is BGR? And I said, "It's Bangor." I said, "I Heart Bangor. Is this ironic?" And so I was thinking about how okay, maybe that's pretty early on I had this motto. Okay, so what is Pigeon? Pigeon is inciting and creating community by confronting the people, let's not say the people, the rhetoric, the attitudes, the institutions, and the laws that prevent us from feeling at home in the very place we live. And I think that's a pretty universal thing, from Iran to Russia. There's people who are being told they don't belong in the place they live. So, but more so, I was really interested in why here, like why in a state that's open for business are we so closed off to people sometimes? And so I was motivated last June after the governor tried to circumvent the federal law regarding general assistance that would deny general assistance to asylum seekers, to really do this project where I had the faces and just provoke with the word Mainer. And I pretty early on I got thank yous when I did my thing in Farmington, did my mural. Somebody thanked me, said thank you. Now I have posters to use for target shooting. But I also got a tremendous amount of positivity, and mostly what I mean is people coming to me and sharing their stories of either how they disagreed with me, or told me you can't use that word, and this is why we feel like we're proud to have been here for several generations, and but also people saying how they felt excluded, and it was people from every there were immigrants, and there were also upper middle class people who had moved here from other states and had kids here and still were told they didn't belong. So the response, and then recently I've worked with a bunch of institutions from Maine Historical Society to Holocaust and Human Rights Center and several more. This year, half of my income is going to come from my art, which is like... Woo! And I'm a street artist. Like, who the fuck makes money in street art? But more than anything, but in spite of all this momentum and all this stuff, this good stuff, just 2 weeks ago, I was walking down Congress, and I see this woman, mid-50s, blonde, attractive, running, jogging. and she's wearing my shirt. And it just is the most amazing feeling, because I felt like in that moment, I looked at her and I felt like, this, all the potential of like somebody maybe I already have, but could have a connection with, could have a conversation with. And looking at you guys, you all here tonight, that's the same feeling I get all over again. Thank you for listening.